Okay, so in the first video we demonstrated how to take the example project in the simple project folder that comes with the Modelkit installation and just compose the models and then run them. And we do that by using these batch scripts that are in the bin folder, compose all and then run or run all. And when you compose all, it creates these 4 energy models, and you can probably tell just by their titles how they differ, but let's just do a quick comparison to show the difference between the baseline and the north axis model. So we can see here that Modelkit inserts some comments in our Energy Plus file, and these are they're called annotations, and they're used mostly as a debugging tool and to just see which templates are inserted and what parameters are being fed in and what parameter defaults are being overridden. So you can see in this baseline model we have a building name parameter with a star next to it. That means that the building name parameter default was overridden by a building name that we gave it. So in this example we fed it a building name of example building, and you'll see that reflected in the root file here. We define the default building name as example building, and then when we insert the general template we feed it a building name of our variable called building name, which here is example building. And then we can see on the north axis model we also overrode the orientation parameter from 0 to 30. And so that's just in the comments here. So if we look in the actual body of the Energy Plus model, we go to the next difference, and we can see in our baseline we have a 0-degree north axis and a 30-degree north axis in our north axis model in the building object. So similarly for the other models, if we look at Windows Better, so the Windows Better model actually has a different orientation of 45 degrees and also a different window U value. So we overrode the default window U value of 1.98 to the window value of 1.419. See, this U value is a pretty long, precise number, but that actually comes from the conversion that's built into Modelkit. As you can see here, we can define the window U value in IP units, and then we put this little conversion marker on here that converts that IP units to the metric units that's required for Energy Plus. The way that those parameters were overridden to give us these 4 Energy Plus models is by using what we call case files. So if we go into the parameters folder, there's a folder called cases, and there's 4 case files here, and these are just text files, and we can open them in any text editor we like, but the baseline is actually just a blank text file. The north axis text file has just that orientation parameter, and you can see here we set that to 30. For Windows Better, you can see we fed it an orientation of 45 and a window U value of 0.25. And the Windows Best, we fed it a U value of 0.15 and an orientation of 45 degrees. So these are just text files, and you can see how we can vary individual or a list of parameters in our case files. So we're going to actually go through and create our own root file from scratch right now, because I think that should shed some light on how these models are constructed, and also just give you a really simple bare bones model and see how quickly you can create a model using Modelkit. So what we're going to do is delete these bottom 3 case files and just leave the baseline, the blank baseline.pxv. And we're actually just going to go to our root file now, and we're going to delete this entire interface section. because we're just going to use all default variables, and we can leave some of this, but we're going to delete most of this. Delete the outputs debug. So we're just going to leave everything default. I'm going to insert general, insert geometry, insert location, insert constructions, and not even going to specify the window U value, just use the default window U value. And now we have this 3-zone model, which we showed in the previous video. First we have to assign some zone loads for each of those 3 zones. So we can do that by just typing insert from our zone loads folder, which if we look back at our examples in the Modelkit Catalyst folder, there is a folder called templates, net 0 templates, and another folder called templates, and these are all the templates that we have at our disposal just from installing the Modelkit framework. These templates were developed by Big Ladder Software, but you can obviously create your own and modify these. And we have folders for systems, so these are the air handling unit systems or DOAS. We've got a zone HVAC folder, which has various zone level HVAC templates, and then we have a zone loads folder, which has various different space functions and the associated people, lights, and equipment loads for each of those space functions. And if we go back up to our example project, if we open this modelkit-config file, this is the config file that Modelkit uses to configure some of the settings. And one of the settings is where those templates are that we just looked at. And here we're telling it that the DIRs equals, and that's the template directory, is in documents, Modelkit Catalyst templates, net 0 templates. So since we have that specified here in the Modelkit config file, we can simply just type insert zone loads, and then we'll call the first zone an office, and then we've got to feed it a zone name, and that will be our zone A. And if we just look at that zone loads office template, we can see that all of the parameters that are available actually have default values except for zone name. That means that zone name must be fed. That's a required variable. So we'll insert the zone loads office template for zone A. Similarly, for zone B, we will feed that a different zone loads. We'll call that a conference room. And for zone C, we will call that a classroom. So that's the zone loads. That's the people, lights, and equipment loads for those zones. Now we need to insert our zone level HVAC templates. So we're going to make this building a simple all-electric VAV reheat system. So for the zone level, we insert zone HVAC VAV.imf. And again, we have to specify the zone name. And this is actually going to be the same for each zone. Oops. So we'll just change the zone name. And now we have to insert the system template. So this is the system level, the actual air handler for the VAV zone systems. So that's from the system folder, also called VAV.imf. This has a required variable called system name, which we'll just call VAV1. And we also have to feed it a list of zone names that's served by this system. So we will make a list with zone A, comma, zone B, comma, zone C, with each of those zones in either quotes, or either double quotes or single quotes is fine. And then we'll insert our standard outputs template. So that's it. That's all we need to create the most basic 3-zone VAV model using our example project geometry. And we can see in just these 17 lines of code plus a few spaces, probably like 13, 14 lines of code, we can create an entire Energy Plus model for this 3-zone model. So now if we want to compose this, we'll go back to our runs folder and we'll actually just delete those 4 folders that we created in our last example, because now we just have one case file called baseline.pxv, and we could have left those run folders as they were in the runs folder. Could have just let them alone, and it would have overwritten the instant.idfs. But just to make it completely clear, we'll just get a clean runs folder, and now we'll go to bin compose all, and assuming no typos were made or anything, it should say one file copied in the baseline folder. So we can click any key to continue, and now we go to our runs folder, and there's that one folder that was created, baseline, and the instance.idf, and we can run that, and it looks like it's running fine, so we didn't make any typos, and just again everything left defaulted. But you can see just by looking at this, probably taking the full advantage of the Ruby scripting language, that we could easily make some loops here to assign zone loads and zone HVAC. We could add some if-else logic to assign systems, and all sorts of different ways that we could speed this up or simplify it for a larger model. And then if you remember from our previous root file, there's this interface up here where we define parameter defaults. We'll get into all of that and more in the next video, but thanks for watching.